What if I told you that you could gain an admission this year regardless of whatever score you already have in your UTME? This is not a gimmick, this is true. By the end of this video, I'm going to be providing you with all the different options you need to know. The problem is that many students do not know there are other options. There are things you should do that will significantly increase your chances of getting an admission. So I'm going to be providing you with all these options in this video, and by the end of this video you are going to be equipped with enough information, and all you need to do is digest this information, and this will help you make an informed decision, hereby increasing your chances significantly. I think it's needful to say at this point that just getting an admission isn't the only goal, isn't the main aim of this video, because if that is your only goal, it is very easy to gain an admission. But I want you to gain an admission into a course and an institution that at the present you're going to be happy with yourself, and your future self is also going to be happy with the decision you've made. That is the main goal of this video. So this video is going to be quite detailed, and to make it easy for you to watch the video, I'm going to be creating a timestamp in the description below. If you don't want to watch all the video and you just want to skip to the part that most applies to you, well, you could go ahead to do that, but it will be also very nice to watch the video from the beginning to the end. If you're new, I'm Wealth. I'm currently a 50th medical student of the University of Ibadan, and I make videos about medical school admission and personal development. What I want to ask now is not too much to ask. Please, I need 3 tiny little favors from you, and I'll be very happy if you could do this for me. So the first thing is just to click the like button right now, and click the subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed, and lastly, share this video with someone you think might also find it helpful, or with a group where there are students. I know you are on several of those groups. Share this video with them. I hope they're also going to find it helpful as you are going to find it helpful. So let's start with how admission actually works in Nigeria. So I'm going to be explaining how admission works in Nigeria by using a model, by using an example. We'll call her Gift. So Gift is a student that is seeking admission. So what are the things Gift needs to do? Gift needs to write some exam that are going to qualify her for getting an admission. So the first exam is your O-level examination. Your O-level examination examples are your WAEC, NECO, GC, NAPTEP, and so on. So you don't have to write all of this, just one is okay. And I think O-level is the most important exam one should have, because without your O-level there is no moving forward. So your O-level requirement is 5 credits, at least 5 credits in one sitting for some courses, or 2 sitting for some other courses. So what this means is that in one sitting of that O-level exam, maybe WAEC, you have to have at least 5 credits. But some courses that are not so competitive can allow you combine 2 exams. For example, if you have 3 credits in the first exam, you could rewrite the next exam and maybe you get the last 2 credits and you can combine it. Out of those 5 credits, it must include English and math. Then the 3 other credits has to be in subjects that are relevant to the course you are choosing. Like I've said earlier in this video, there are different modes of gaining admission. There are different routes, and the commonest route, which is also somewhat the cheapest one, is your UTME route, like writing the JAM, which you've just written. Gift is also going to pick JAM. If she's following the UTME route, she's going to pick JAM and write the exam. Now let's say Gift is aspiring to study accounting in OAU. So the next thing for her to do is to pick the post-UTME form of OAU. OAU writes the exam. After Gift has written her post-UTME, OAU then goes ahead to calculate the aggregate of all the students. There is a way different schools calculate their aggregate. You should know that for your own school. After calculating the aggregate, another thing you need to know about each school for admission is that there is something called quota. For OAU, each of the courses they offer, they want to admit students to as a quota. Quota means the maximum number of students they can admit for that particular department. So let's say accounting, they can admit only 250 students, and law, they can admit only 200 students. It means that if 10,000 or let's say 5,000 students applied for accounting that year along with Grace, it means they are only going to pick 250 because the system allows them to only pick 250 students. It means the remaining large amount of students will not get admission to study accounting that particular year. Now, after they've calculated the aggregate of all the students, let's say all the 5,000 students that applied to accounting in OAU that year, then they arrange them from the in descending order, and then they pick the top 250. The top 250, the person that is 250 on the list, that person's aggregate becomes the cutoff mark for accounting in OAU that particular year. So this is just like a general overview of how admission works. There are some variations to this. Some schools consider one particular exam, some schools consider O-level, give marks to O-level, some don't. Subsequently, I'm going to be making videos talking about some of the most aspired school. I'm going to be talking about the admission modality, so please subscribe to not miss this in the future. Now that we have an overview of how admission generally works in Nigeria, the next thing we want to do is to know how to determine your chances of getting an admission. And when you determine your chances of getting an admission, I will help you put yourself into 3 categories: into having good chances, into having a fair or decent chance, and into having no chance at all. So these are the 3 categories we are going to be talking about this video. So I'm going to show you how to actually determine your chances right now, and you should be able to put yourself into one of these 3 categories. Now you've written your UTME and you have a score. You know what you've scored in UTME. The first thing to do in determining your chances is to make inquiry, research about the school you want to pick and the course you are picking in that particular school. You need to know the admission modality, how the admission works, what they consider, and the previous cutoff mark. Let me use medicine in UI for example. UI consider 3 major exams. The first one is your O-level. Once you have credits in all the 5 subjects, you'll be qualified for the rest. But they do not consider O-level in determining your aggregates. Once you have passed, once you have the minimum requirements, you'll be allowed to proceed to write post-UME. Now, to form your aggregates, UI is going to consider only 2 exams, which is your UTME, that's your JAMB, and your post-UME, the one you are going to be writing in UI. And each of them is given 50 marks. UTME is over 400. If you divide 400 by 8, you're going to get 50. That's the 50 marks. So let's say a student scored 400 over 400 in UTME. We know that's not possible, but let's say he scored 400 over 400. We'll divide it by 8. That's going to be 50 marks from the UTME side of it. Then UI is going to write the post-UME. UI organizes post-UME each year and it is graded 100 marks. So let's say this student is very smart, so he scored 100 over 100 in the post-UME. UI divides it by 2 to get 50. So you can see 50 marks from UTME, 50 marks from the post-UME. Then you add this thing together to get the aggregate score. This aggregate score is what actually determines your chances of getting admission in UI. For other schools it differs. Some other schools give some percentage to O-level, like your WAEC. They give a particular, some give like 20% to WAEC, 30% to post-UME, 50% to JAMB. So the proportion differs for each school, which is where you make research and subscribe to this channel, because we'll be talking more about other schools. Let's take this student that scored 100 over 100, that's the student aggregate, is now applying for UI medicine. UI medicine has a quota of 150 for example, and after calculating the aggregate of all the students, they will pick the top 150 students. So if you score 100 on there, you can be 100% sure that you're going to fall among the first 150 students. Now, one thing I want you to do is your UTME result and your O-level result that you already have, calculate the aggregates from it. You now ask yourself, what do I need to score in post-UME to meet the previous cutoff mark? Now you ask yourself, is this thing possible? Is it possible for me to score 90 over 100 in a post-UME? Is it possible for me to score 100 over 100 in post-UME if that's what I need to be able to beat the previous cutoff mark? So I would say you should give an allowance by add 2 more marks to the previous cutoff mark, and that should be what you're trying to beat. Answer to this question is what is going to help you put yourself into one of these categories: good chances, fair or decent chances, or no chances. I'm going to be talking about each of these 3 categories. So if you fall into good chances, this is not the end, this is not the time to relent. I've seen students who scored very high in UTME, scored 320, and end up not getting admission because they thought, oh, I scored very high, now I can play around, I can have fun, I can do whatever I want. People that score that high, they usually go for highly competitive courses. But don't forget that admission is it's a competition actually. You are competing with several other students that also scored that high. My point I want you to take home is not to relent. Now start making research about how your post-UME, what kind of question they ask, how it runs, and how to prepare for it. I'm going to be subsequently making videos on some university post-UME. Okay, by the way, which university post-UME would you like me to talk about first? And I will also try to invite students from the schools, talk to you people on how to prepare for this exam, and probably create some sort of community that will help foster sharing of materials and stuff. But for which school do you want me to do first? Let's see the majority. Maybe that's what we're going to do first. Now, if you have fair chance of getting an admission, or there are a couple of things I suggest you do that will increase your chances of getting an admission. First is you're going to work super hard. It is risky. It is actually risky. I've seen people who have a decent score in UTME, who have like a fair chance of getting an admission. They work so hard and it scored like the highest in post-UTME. But remember, again, you are competing with people that already have high score. This is a risky place to be. But I would advise, if you are very passionate about the course you want to choose and you don't want anything else, then I would say you can give post-UTME a shot. You know, you're going to work harder than everybody else. But have it in mind that things could go south. If things go south, what are you going to do about it? For people with fair chances or decent chances, the next thing you want to do is probably changing your school. Some people are so hell-bent on a particular school. Well, it's understandable why, but I don't think that's super important. If you are aspiring to study medicine in UI, it is way more competitive. You need higher score in your UTME than someone that is trying to study medicine in Lautech. Lautech, they are both medicine, but you know, there are some differences in quality of education you get and also school fees. All those are factors students consider in picking schools. But if you think your UTME result is good but not good enough for a particular school, that particular course, you could actually change to another school for the same course. On the other hand, you could also change to another course in the same school. Another thing you want to do is to try alternative routes of gaining admission. I'm going to talk about this when I'm talking about people that have no chances of gaining admission. I'm going to talk about it in detail. And the next one is to wait for the next UTME. So sometimes waiting for the next UTME might actually be the best thing a student can do, but I generally do not advise to do that alone. I advise a student, if you are okay with taking the next UTME, like some people are so passionate, they know that I want to study medicine in Unilag or I want to study law in OU and I don't want anything else, and they have a score which is decent but maybe not so good enough that we like guarantee their chances of getting law. Actually, no score guarantee your chances. If you do not work hard for your post-UTME, student will still not gain an admission. So if that's the case and you notice that, oh, this score, I need to do another UTME, I would say just go ahead with this UTME you've already written and you are going to do your best. First is that you could be lucky and you will get an admission. There are students that such happens to. They don't have the best UTME results. They did very well in their post-UTME, got an admission. On the other hand, even if you do not gain an admission, you are going to gain experience. You're going to gain knowing how to prepare for this exam, knowing how this exam works. You're going to be more confident for the next year. And also, you could even gain an admission to study another course, and then you could change your course maybe after your first year, or while in school you could also pick the UTME form again and try the course you're very passionate or particular about. Now let's talk about people that have no chance for the course they've chosen in the school they've chosen. Many of the advice as I've said before for the previous points actually also applies here. First thing you could consider is changing your course and changing your institution. There are some courses depending on what you have in your UTME. I need to also point out that each school have a cutoff mark. That is the minimum score you can have in your UTME to qualify for their post-UTME at all. UI, for example, you need to score 200 and above to be able to pick any course whatsoever in UI. So many schools keep theirs at 180, some schools at 150, some at 160. So these are another things to consider. If it's scored 199 UTME, you know that it is not possible to pick UI. So you have to consider a school that general cutoff mark is 180, for example. So there are a lot of numbers I'm talking about in this video. I'm going to link another old video which I explained this better. Another thing is to consider alternative institution. I know most people, the only thing they think about, the only one they consider is university. There are actually other good institutions that you could consider. Getting an admission to Polytechnic is not as difficult. Try College of Education. There is College of Health Technology. There is Institute of Management Technology. There is private universities. There is National Open University of Nigeria. These are several alternatives and I can't really go into details into all of them, but you can pick them up and make research on each of them. Genuinely, there are admission process is not as difficult as, let's say, federal university, which is usually the most competitive, then state university, which is also more competitive, and some private universities are also very competitive. Many of the private schools are not so competitive compared to the federal schools. Remember, the thing is, there is quota, and they are trying to pick maximum amount of students out of the pool of students that apply. Even if your result is fairly poor and you're one of the best applying to a particular school, because not so many people are applying to it, you still gain an admission for that particular course in that school. The next thing is to use alternative routes of getting an admission. So there are actually ways you could gain admission directly to 200 level. So you could use A-level program like IJMB, Cambridge A-level. You're going to go to like a program where you spend, I think, 1 year or 2 years, I'm not exactly sure. I'll probably make a video about this if you want me to. And after your program, you're going to write exams there. You're not going to write UTME in this case. You write exam in the program. It's just like a school where you go for 1 year or 2 years, and after your exams, you apply direct entry to a particular university you want that allow or that accept that particular A-level program, and you'll be admitted straight to 200 level. I have friends studying medicine with me now that got into medicine using Cambridge A-level, for example, and many of them said they've written JAMB before. They said Cambridge A-level program is actually way easier. It is way easier to gain an admission using Cambridge A-level. The only disadvantage I saw to it is that it is quite expensive. It is very expensive actually. I would not have been able to afford using Cambridge A-level to gain an admission, but if you can afford it, why not? There are other programs you could use. There are pre-degree program. Some schools actually do this pre-degree program. You should make research about your school and know if they do it. This one, you are going to also go to the school. They are going to teach you. It's just like you've gotten an admission, but technically you are not a student yet. You are going to learn stuff, and at the end of the program, then you'll be admitted to 200 level. So depending on the kind of school you choose, some school will still ensure you write UTME again the next year, but it is going to be easier for you to gain an admission compared to people that are just applying direct UTME. For people that like the pre-degree student, they have higher consideration over people that are not pre-degree students. There are probably other options I did not remember to talk about in this video, and subsequently I'm going to be talking about them as they come up. So please subscribe to the channel again and turn on the notification button so as not to miss it. And I hope God is going to help you. I'm going to be here with you like I promised before throughout the admission process. Okay, so you can ask questions and I'll try to answer as many as I possibly can. Yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you found it helpful. This is a quite detailed video. And are you watching to the end? If you're watching to the end, put a thumbs up emoji in the comment section, so I'm going to see you actually sat through my boring talk to watch to the end. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.